Mum and Dad are originally from Bethnal Green, East London. So my two brothers were born up there, and my mum moved down when she was pregnant with me down to Basildon, the Riviera of Essex. And yeah, I was born here. I'm 51 now, so 51 years been here.
What was it like growing up, like your earliest memories?
It was good. Like I said, Basildon was a new town, a lot of greenery everywhere, parks. I'd still go up to see my family in the East End, so you saw a big difference when you was going up to see me nan and that in Bethnal Green. You'd see the difference to where you lived to where they was. But I still used to play out and go up the Roman Road and that. But Basildon was just like fresh air compared to being up there. You know, it's totally different atmosphere. But yeah, childhood was good. Like I said, you just mucked about back then out the street all the time, didn't you?
So what was it? Were you in like was it a council estate or was it in this?
Yeah, council estate, yeah. But all the people basically that would live around me were all people that had been moved out from the East End through slum clearances. So everyone's family was in the same position, you know.
Yeah.
So all the kids that you grew up with, you all had the same values, and all their parents had the same values. Yeah, like people leaving their keys in the doors. Their parents would tell you off, or if you fell out with each other, their parents would tell you to have a fight there and then, straighten it out, and then half an hour later you'd be mates again.
After the Cranes got locked up, didn't they, mid-60s? Then you had
66, 69 when it, yeah, they was gone.
Yeah, they went. The Richardsons went around at the same time from South London. So in the 70s, what was it like when you was going over as a kid to Bethnal Green? And
it was 74 I was born, so like I said, I was going up there every weekend, really, every other weekend to see me nan. Both my granddads were dead by the time I was one, so I'd go and see me nans, and it was all right up there, but you could see the change coming. You know what I mean? You could just I don't know. It's very strange. It's a different atmosphere up there, but you felt a belonging at the same time. You felt belonging because you knew that's where you come from, and everyone round you in Basildon was the same. So it's just like you took a piece to the East End and moved it down to Basildon.
So you all went to, you and your pals, you all went to sort of high school in Basildon?
Yeah, I went to the same school, yeah. All grew up the same school as Barnstable. That's been knocked down, like I said, within no time of leaving. That's been knocked down and built on. Is all they're doing now in Basildon is building on every bit of green there is. Flats, houses, even the town centre they're ripping down to build flats on. So it's just becoming a concrete jungle. Basildon was always known as a rough place, mainly because, like I said, it had all become the overspill of the East End. And it's funny because I used to say when they brought out a monopoly board of Essex, Basildon was Kent Road, Old Kent Road.
I left school in 1990. Now I know all my viewers are going to want me to ask this question. So around about that time, you would have had Tony Tucker. I'm not sure about where he lived in Essex, but you would have them. He would have been working the door, I guess, with Michael Kelly probably around about that time, or maybe a bit before.
He was around. I first knew of Tucker when I used to hang about down Rack Hills. So you're probably looking at, I was about 19, so about 93.
Yeah.
So I would have been 19. Bernie, I knew Bernie probably wouldn't remember me because, like I said, I was a 19-year-old. Yeah. But Bernie was there, and Tucker came there. But I first met Tucker actually because I started training in bodybuilding. I went to Hadley, which was called Progress House, which was a well-known gym for doorman and that going to. And that's when I first met him up there.
So did you get into the weightlifting from an early age?
Yeah, from about 15 I started.
And that's where you met Tucker when he was in that gym as well?
Yeah, in that gym, yeah.
So he would have been about, you was 19, 20, he would have been about late 20s?
He would have been probably, he was, 38 by 95 when he got murdered. So he's probably about 34, 35 probably.
Sort of in his prime.
Yeah, he was. That was his prime, yeah. Because that was when roughly near the time he just moved to Fobbing. Not long, it weren't long after that they got murdered.
So was he big? Was he in person? What was he like? Was he sort of imposing character?
The owner of Progress House introduced me, And he just said, all right. He didn't say much, just patted you on the back because, like I said, I was a youngster. And he was as good as gold. Like I said, you already knew the name, who he was. But it was like anything. If you don't go around and act an idiot, they'll treat you all right. But if you want to go in there and give it the large, then you'll end up getting a slap of someone. And it was the same. I first met Colton. I think I first met Colton just after the murders down there.
What was the vibe round there? Were they big names in that area?
The vibe in Basildon was always violent because, like I said, because I've got two older brothers, and the eldest one played football, was good at football. So by the time I was, say, 15, he was like 21, and he was playing for pub teams by then, like the Bullseye and that.
Yeah.
And the Bullseye, I don't know whether you know, was the pub that was across from Rackell's, where everyone went who really couldn't go nowhere else, sort of thing. You know, it's like, it reminds me of like a smuggler's den sort of thing. You had all your thieves going there to sell their gear, people selling drugs and that. I mean, they'd served me over there in my school uniform after I'd worked in the market.
That was across the road from the notorious Rackell's. What was the time for people who want to know about it and had never been? I'd never ventured up that way. So what was it actually like inside? Was it like a massive, was it a big club?
It was big for the time, yeah, it was big for the time. It was a big place, but there was only really two venues in Basildon at the time, and that was called Time, and Rackell's. And Rackell's was known as the place that basically anyone could get into, and Time you had to be dressed in trousers and a shirt or whatever, or collar. So it was a more respectable place than Rackell's.
Was it all dance music and all the acid house type thing?
At the beginning it was all like dance music, you know, just chart music when you first went there. It was only over the next year or so that the raves started coming in.
Did you ever meet Craig Rolfe?
I didn't, but my brother knew him because they used to all go up the ministry. Before Rolfe was with Tucker, when I was younger, my brother used to go up, what's it called? The ministry, and there was somewhere else, Astoria.
Oh, yeah.
And they used to go up there. And also a pal of mine knew his older brother where I lived, who was older than me. Because when I was younger, I used to hang about a lot of the time with older people. And so I knew, I think it was Michael, who was at my oldest brother's age. And Craig was known, but not as anyone violent or anything, just as one of the fellas.
So you had Jason Valley and his little mob. Did they go to war before? Was it before the Essex lads?
Vella, he was from Grays, wasn't he? He weren't from round here, although he got pinched at the same sort of time.
But was he still operating in that area?
Oh, yeah, he was operating because, like I said, if you go on YouTube, you can see the video where they had someone in a flat down in Pitsea that had police surveillance on it, and all of a sudden the geezer flies out the window, lands on the floor with a broken leg and runs to a neighbour, and they'll come out and watch him because he's being tortured. So just coincidentally, the flat was already under observation. So that's why it was caught. And like I said, it's on YouTube, you can see it.
So they were... Sorry, mate, go on.
So I think that's where he got a big sentence from, when he got the 17 or 18 years for that.
So he wasn't under observation, it was actually the flat that was under observation?
I think it was his flat, though, or his pal's flat, that I was watching. They took him to his flat, in Pitsea.
But did they, from what you know, did they sort of know each other?
He was working with him. The one who was getting tortured, he was running drugs from, I don't know whether drugs had got missing. I think his name was Reggie Nunn or something. Drugs had gone missing, or, in that game, what it's like, everyone's paranoid. And so it ended up that they was, what's well documented, that they were fucking around with him in there. Apparently got a broom stuck up his arse and whatnot.
Yeah, it was terrible from what I could hear on that one. I did see the YouTube video of it previously. And there was another guy I've been asked to ask you about. He's now in jail, but they think he was wrongfully put away in jail. It's the Dean Boschel murder.
Dean Boschel from South.
Grassed up by the Supergrass, Dalman.
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's funny. The one who they murdered in the lot, I believe it was Dean who got killed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was Dean Basildon got killed. I went to school with his brother, Wayne Basildon, was my year at school, and Dean was a couple of years younger.
Oh, right, no way. So
Yeah.
was that big news at the time when that happened?
Not really, no. It wasn't.
No.
No, nothing. It was, I'll tell you what, it was so hectic at the time. It was like thing after thing after thing. It was becoming like the Wild West. You know what I mean? It just seemed like an explosion of violence all at once.
In the 90s, all in the 90s.
Yeah, early 90s, yeah. I think a lot of it maybe because the CCTV ain't what it is now, but it just seemed like a free-for-all. Yeah.
Crazy.
It was really strange.
So getting back to yourself, what was, when you left school, what did you go into?
I was just doing building work and labouring and that.
Yeah, so you went into the building game.
Yeah, with my dad.
And during that period, were you still doing the, obviously you're doing his gym and everything, was that still at the same gym as Tucker and then went to?
It was still there, yeah. I think basically, the gym is what happened when they got murdered. I think a lot of people felt really insecure because it was full of doormen from all over. And a lot of them, I think, reality hit home. It don't matter what your name is, what your reputation is. If someone wants you, they'll take you.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, I think, it put a rocket up their arsehole, and all of a sudden everyone disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were first on the scene around Basildon, who was, obviously Tucker had doors, but who was running them after that straight away?
To be honest, once when I was young, Smut had all the doors, Paul Smith, and then once Bernie took that over, I don't know who ran. I do know who ran it. Time, a fella called Venables, Dave Venables, nice bloke, ex-powerlifter, really strong, broke a world record at about 50 odd. Yeah, good man. But it was just like the violence was so bad around Rackhills, it needed someone like Bernie to work there to make it livable for normal people.
So he come up from Birmingham.
There's no doubt about a lot of people, because they don't like you, they'll rubbish you. What he's like as a person is irrelevant. Was he a good doorman to keep in control of a door? Yeah, if he was, he done what had to be done. Yeah.
So he had
a lot of people feared him, yeah.
Did he seek Tucker out, or because Tucker would have been working at what's it called?
I think they just met. I think they just met at Ep1 or something, didn't it? And he needed invoices because, like I said, he went from working for someone to running it himself. So he needed invoices and whatnot to start doing it legit through the club. And so I think it was just that. And then with that, as the violence was getting worse, as you know, local doormen worry about local people because they know them and whatnot. So he said to Tony, could you bring some of your people from London or whatever in who ain't going to be scared of a reputation? Which was a smart idea because things were getting bad.
Yeah. Because in his book, I think he talked about, I won't mention his name because obviously he's sort of moved on with his life and whatnot, but he had a bit of a row with some guy who he mentions in his book, but he was always in that, he was in that bullseye boozy.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, like everywhere.
Were they West Ham mob, were they? So,
no, I don't think so. I mean, some of them support, but really it was just to do with drinking in that boozer.
Yeah.
It was just that pub always had that name for glassings all the time. People getting cut, people getting smashed up. It was just one of them places, you know. And like I said, people who were sitting selling drugs all day would sit in there because it was open. It was right next to the market and the town, so it had plenty of action around it. And it was just the place that was easy access for people, I suppose.
Pat Tate, interestingly, I'd done a couple of videos myself on him because a lot of people were saying that his jaw broke by Roy Shaw and all these different things. Now, I've spoke to someone close to him, confirmed that he never had his jaw broke by.
I don't believe it either. No, I don't think he did.
He had one. There was two, and I've been given permission to say it. There was two situations. One where a guy hit, I think it was a bat or something on his car when he was sitting in his car, and the windscreen went through, and I think it hurt his. I think it broke his jaw or something happened.
Oh, yeah.
It was some kind of dispute. I don't know who. Then he did have a row after that when his his jaw was still bad from what I understand. But it was a guy called McCarthy, who was a handy guy, who later got...
Not Mick, who got shot and
yeah,
paralysed from the waist down.
it was
That would have
Mick.
been where my old school was. The pub he took over was called the Commodore. And that, again, was where I went to school in the juniors and in the seniors. That was like, again, you had all youngsters just sit out dealing drugs all day in it until he took it over. And when he took it over, he fucked them all off. Yeah.
Because I can't remember, what area was that in then, the Commodore?
Basildon, that was in between Pitsea and Basildon. It's Timberlock Lane it was on.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know if it was that pub, but it could have been. But it was some pub. It probably was, if that's the one he was running. I don't know the ins and outs of the details. He had a bit of a scrap, but he'd already had his jaw broken by that time. So I don't know who won or what it was. I'm only bringing it up because I know my subscribers want to know was that.
Yeah. And I remember when Mick first come down, and all the like youngsters that used to go in there and that said, "Oh, he's come down. He's a proper fucks everyone off who he didn't want in there." And like I said, it weren't too long later that he got shot and paralysed.
Yeah, it was terrible turnout. That was in. Trying to think. I saw the news archive. I spoke to a friend about it, and it was.
It was in a calf, wasn't it?
He's in a calf. He just came up shot. He survived. I think he's still around to this day, but he's.
I think he is. Yeah.
Paralysed.
Yeah, from the waist down.
Right, let's move forward then. So you're working on the building game. How is it that you got into the door game yourself, and how did you get to know Andre? That's Russian Andre.
Well, at the time, I think work was a bit scarce, and I think I just had an hernia operation, so I didn't want to lift heavy stuff. And I was at my mate's tattooist, who was good friends with the area manager of the door firm, and also he knew AJ and that. So he said, I'll have a word, see if they want any doorman over there. So I went over there with my brother, met up with AJ, and he said, yeah, come and work here. And that was the beginning of it over there.
So AJ was, just for the listeners, AJ
Mick
was
Kelly's brother-in-law. That's Mick Kelly's brother-in-law.
Yeah, Mick Kelly. So Michael Kelly, who, for those who haven't seen the videos, you can find them on the channel. He was like a big security boss in Essex and London throughout the years, through the sort of 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
And I knew it when he took over because they was freshly built all over the festival. And at the time, all the locals were moaning that the Russians had come in and all that as doormen, and they weren't putting up with no shit no more. So I knew of Russian Andre's name anyway. And a lot of people thought Dell was Russian as well, but he weren't. He was African. But obviously it put the locals' nose out of joint because they was used to it, having it their own way. Like in every area, you want it your own way, don't you? And then when someone says no to you, it's a bit of a, you know.
So you had Polish Michael.
That's it.
Russian Andre. You had quite a mob of them, didn't you, Michael?
There was a few vowels, I think, a few vowels there.
And they were, and Michael was having to work with the old bill then because of the situation with Leah Betts, rest in peace, and the situation with Tony, Craig, and Pat, who had been murdered. There was a lot of tension. What was the feeling like after the killings? You were saying it was a lot of paranoia.
Once they were murdered, and the heat come onto Basildon big time, like with the police and that, and they tried reopening Raquel's and it wouldn't work. And then all that was left was time. And like I said, time was a lot more respectable, as in you had to be dressed nice, you had to have girls with you and whatnot. And then they built the Bas Vegas, and it was all different doorman. There was no drugs going on in there, no nothing. Anyone they didn't want, they were fucked off right from the off. So it just kept a cleaner atmosphere than what it had been before. Before it was just like Basildon people running riot, you know, like in every area, isn't it?
Well, that just to describe to the viewers. So this was the first super club opened, and I'll just give them an idea of how big it was. There was loads of clubs, weren't there, inside it?
It's massive. It was 4 clubs altogether, 2, 3 floors, and you went in all different entrances. But after 11 o'clock, they opened all interlinking doors. So then you could go to anywhere, and it held nearly 4,000 people.
4,000.
Yeah.
So it's a massive venue. And how many doormen? Would you have different doormen in each?
When we first started, because I started there when they had the revamp, they'd redecorated it all, called it a few different names like they do, and we started off with 40 doormen to deal with it. By the time I left, I think we was down to about 16 doormen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know the numbers had dropped, but we still used to get a couple of thousand people in there.
Yeah.
And it was still, like I said, one of the clubs in particular that was like a certain type of music, attracted certain type of people, and it was just explosive in there all the time.
Lots of different gangs coming down, or mobs from
all
London.
London gangs non-stop.
Was it? Was that where the main trouble was when you was on the door?
Yeah, non-stop.
So, can you tell us about any significant fight that's as old the door?
Going on, you wouldn't have believed what was going on there, because like I said, it was away from houses, and we used to shut at 4 a.m. So, but like we'd be out in a car park fighting, people be running people over, going to cars, getting bats, knives, whatever, or we'd be out the back doing it with them, because it was always, in our day, if you turned up the club, it'd be like 2 girls, 2 blokes, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
By the time it got to this stage, it was gangs of men booking tables with the champagne, the vodka and that, and because they're big spenders, let them in. So in the end, you've got groups and groups and groups of men. So when it kicks off, it's a war. Because like I said, you take one of them out, you've got to take 10 out.
Yeah.
And if it ain't us with them, it's them against each other, because they're from different parts of London.
Right.
And then you get in between them and everyone turns on you.
Yeah. So it's the gang vibe from London and the postcode thing and all that.
Yeah, of course it was, yeah.
So northeast. So with Andre, because Andre, I know Andre said when we met that you guys worked at each other's backs and everything.
Yeah, when you just make it, I think a lot of it, me and Andre, we both got the same sense of humour.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of a warped sense of humour, yeah. So I can remember when I first met him and that, he'd come up and shake my hand, and he was always giggling away at something or other. And then we just got on so well. And also at the time, he worked in the town. There was the Towngate pub on the corner from the Bullseye. Yeah. And they'd had some trouble there. And AJ phoned me up and said, can you go down there with them? So I used to work there from 5 in the afternoon on a Saturday until that shut at 12, and then go on to the clubs after with Andre and Albanian Tony.
And what was the dough like back in those days? I was working the doors. I had doorman at a boozer in Stoke back in, it would have been mid-90s. Was it mid-90s? Late 90s, I think. But it was 10 quid an hour.
Yeah.
Now, I was speaking to a doorman the other day, and he was on £12 at 80 an hour.
Yeah.
And that's nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah, no, and they want to tax them now on it as well. They want to pay PAYE with it. I know, it's criminal. And all the reason why is they want to get people down the job centre. They send them on the course to get their badge. They'll pay for it. Now he's qualified. So what are the big companies going to do? Buy the cheapest, as many as they can, don't they? They don't give a monkeys,
So back when you was doing it then, was it cash in hand?
Yeah.
So you could earn some good dough. So did you work all weekend?
Yeah, I used to work about 4 or 5 days a week.
So did you have any either with the local Essex lads?
What you got a lot more of, like always, people throwing their names around. Yeah. More than actual them themselves. They might do one thing, but another 30 people do it on the back of their name. And like I said, I know most of them. I even know them to this day. And like I said, we're all older now. They're nice people, But it was just a time and place. The doorman are telling you one thing when you want to do another. It is what it is, isn't it? And so, like I said, you used to get dickheads all the time, but most of them, they didn't even bother trying to get in. Because, on a Friday night, it was £1 a pint, I think. It was terrible.
Was it?
Yeah, you could turn up in track bottoms, football shirt, whatever you wanted. Yeah. And so if you're going to let that type of people in, you're going to get them type of problems, aren't you? You just have to be firm with them. You used to just fuck them off right at the door. So as long as they couldn't come in, And if they did get in and people caused problems, it'd be the same people all the time. It's always, every time. And it's what we'd have to do. We had a system, like I said, you're only as good as a doorman around you. And there was a lot of good doormen over there. And so when it kicked off, you knew it was going to be about 20 geezers all together. So we'd get a few in the fire exit, wedge the fire exit doors shut so no more could burst through because they'll all be kicking it and whatnot. Wedge it, deal with them, drag them down the stairs from fat. And then all of a sudden, while they're kicking against it, quickly open the doors again, they fly through, quickly shut them again, now they're trapped with you, you know.
Yeah.
That's just that over and over and over. But it was just every week, it was without fail. And especially New Year's Eve or that would be mental. One night there was a fight with a load of big geezers, and we've gone into the exit, and there was one of them, he was about 7 foot and about 30 stone. And they've managed to get him on the floor, but he was just doing press-ups with people, pushing them up. So in the end, about 8 people have managed to hold him down. We've got rid of his mates. So we've all got him down, and then eventually we've got up to get off him, to get him, and he's not breathing. And we're going, oh, fuck. And he's got blood running out his mouth. And everyone's just looking at each other going, you've killed him. You've killed him. All blaming each other. He was so funny. The area manager come up with the door phone and he's gone, oh, this is good, isn't it? You've all killed him. So in the end, we've called site security out and they've run up with a defibrillator and they've jump-started him again, got him down again. But then they wanted us to fucking carry him down the stairs. And the guy's about 30. But it was a lot of funny things like that, because like I said, when things are bad, you tend to laugh a lot, don't you? I believe they should be the law of the land, don't they? And it's just a part of, like I said, young men are like that, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have a big, strong door firm, or it doesn't have to be big, but you need at least 3 or 4 good people who are going to stand together to, until they get the end, that you're not going to.
You need to be committed. That's at the end of the day. That's one thing that wound me up on the door. Obviously, you're going to come against people's names and reputations all the time. And it pissed me off because I believe if you're there, you've got to do whatever it takes, however far they want to take it, you've got to be prepared to take it. Otherwise, you've lost already, haven't you?
Yeah.
But a lot of the doormen, when it comes to comeback, they're like, oh, yeah, but I've got a mortgage. I've got kids. And well, you didn't say that when you was some youngster dragging them out. Yeah. Now it's come to the real deal. When you earn your money, you want to, I've got this reason. We've all got reasons. But at the end of the day, you've got to be committed to what you're doing. And if I'm going to be with people who are committed for me, I'm going to be committed for them. It don't matter whether I die on there. Then I die for what I'm standing for. It's no good being a shitter and saying, oh, yeah, I can do it to him because he's a fucking mug. But then someone strong comes along and now I'm just going to shit myself. And that's one thing I can't stand on the door. There was a lot of that goes on. And that's what I found out with Andre and the Albanians and that. They're very, they've got good morals.
Loyal.
It's not for the money. They're loyal, got good morals. They don't care whether they get put up or whatever. As long as you stay and do what you've got to do, then that's what counts. And that is how it seemed to be years ago. But these days, it just seems like everyone for themselves, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think when the badges came in as well. Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you get found out quick. Anyone who thinks that if you show a bit of weakness or you're over nice when someone's playing up, that they're going to they're going to think, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. It don't work that way. Do you know what I mean? If they smell any weakness at all, do you know what I mean? They're going to, before you know it, before you know it, they'll be helping themselves to drinks behind the bar. They think that they've got the run of the gaff. Do you know what I mean?
And they'll even be bullying the doorman as they come in. Yeah. You've seen that when they pretend to fight them and all this shit. Yeah. And you think, you're going to let this cocksucker do this. You know what he's doing. He's testing you.
Yeah.
He's interviewing you, seeing whether you're worth anything. And if you can just, oh, he didn't mean that. He did mean something. He's testing you. Yeah. So you either stamp out there and then, or you're going to be bullied by him. You know, another good book to read, I think, Jeff Thompson's Watch Me Back. You read that?
Fantastic book.
Brilliant book. That describes door work down to a T, doesn't it?
I just think that was one of the best books I ever read.
Same here.
just the fact that he's very open about how
Yeah.
how he was scared of violence at first,
Yeah.
and he wanted to find a way to be able to handle it and deal with it.
Yeah.
And he actually threw himself in. If anyone hasn't read it, he threw himself in the deep end. He was doing lots of different martial arts. He was abused. No one ever knew about it, but he was secretly abused by one of his martial arts teachers. I forget what he was training at the time. And he had a lot of things going on, and he was doing all these different applied martial arts and whatnot, but he didn't feel they cut the mustard for the street type of violence. And he actually dedicated himself for, I think, about 10, 15, maybe 10, 15 years of the roughest. And Coventry was rough in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was on the door, only a small guy, but having it with all the toughies, the hard men, the gangsters, and he would not back down from anyone.
And he sort of invented the mixed martial arts, didn't he, back then? Because he was the first one to take a bit of everything, put it together, and then use it properly on the door and show people. And like I said, not only that, he talks about being scared, being nervous, what you're going to feel like, how your breath's going to go, your adrenaline, everything. And anyone who is a new doorman, they should read that 100%. Or it's on audiobook, I've got it.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just so, it's brilliant how he explains it.
It's superb. I mean, it's outdated now in the sense of doorman now wouldn't be able to do what he did.
No, you'd be nicked and you'd be gone, yeah.
You'd be getting lives off.
Yeah, I know.
But, because back then, I remember growing up, and when we was out and about in Newcastle or at one of the towns in our city, or pubs, the doormen were just big. They weren't MMA fighters, nothing like that.
No.
Quite a few boxers and whatnot, but they were
big beer bellies, a lot of them.
Yeah, big lumps in the tuxedo. Yeah. But if you give them cheek, you're just going to get a right hand straight away. Do you know what I mean?
You only had to look at them wrong. If you just stared at them back then, kids today ain't got a clue. There was none of this. I got my rights. Your rights were you're going to casualty tonight. If you're looking at me wrong, that was your rights, wasn't it? You might get a free lift, but otherwise, if you went to the burger van after, there was one by the Bullseye in Rackhills. Oh, the amount of shit there every night. People get in comas and all that shit every night.
Right, so we get to the debt collecting now. So that was, how old were you when you started that?
I must have been about 40.
But just give us a sort of overview of what the type of jobs you'd be sent on and how it sort of worked.
Well, basically, one thing we always done was made sure, because a lot of the time it'd be fucking builders off.
Yeah.
They get you to do a contract job, knock you for it, say I've gone into liquidation, blah, blah, blah. So you'd see the paperwork, you'd phone the person and say to them, can you come on a meet? Obviously, we don't want to come to your house. Can you come on a meet and chat about it? And a lot of time they're just dismissive. It's like, oh, it's going through the solicitors, I don't know, call, blah, blah, blah. But if you look on, you'll see they've done it to about 10 companies. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you know that what they're doing, they're professional knockers. So then early in the morning, so Sunday, when everyone's relaxed, you go and give a tap on the door and you just politely say to them, look, it ain't going away. Phone the fella up that you owe, talk to him, and let's get it sorted. And 9 out of 10 times, that's enough.
In the debt collecting thing about the building companies you're mentioning, because I got a pal of mine I was chatting to him. He took a contract out where he's like a subcontractor. Yeah. He's in the chain basically for a big, like a big contract. But the company he's done it for, and he's done about I think it was 80 grand or 90 grand.
Yeah.
They weren't paying him. But the company at the end, the big company,
they paid it.
They paid it. But the one before, now he came to me and asked me about it, and I was looking into it, and the geezer have done it loads of times.
Of course, you see them. They've liquidated company after company. A lot of the time, they don't even change the website. They'll just change the director on it. It'll be another director, their wife, their son, their cousin, and they just crack on as normal. I mean, one particular one I remember I went to, it was, what's it, £6 million house he had, gated. and he had a history of doing it. And I turned up on a Sunday morning, and when I've rung the gates bell, they must have thought it was the paper boy or something. They've just opened them for us.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, that's handy. So we've gone in there with my partner. I won't say who, but he's a good man. And I've rung the doorbell. He's come out. He's gone, what's going on? I said, you owe so-and-so X amount of money. Can you call him and pay him? You're ignoring him. He said, I don't know it. It's been liquidated. I said, you know you owe it. I said, you've liquidated 10 companies. I said, and so his wife's come out. She's gone, he don't know it. It's gone, the company. I said, yeah, and you're the new director of the new one, aren't you? So that's all they do. They just pass it over. And because they're in their little houses 200 miles away with gated fences round, but that poor fucker in the chain, he might lose 50 or 100 grand. That could destroy him.
Because they were doing this all the time, these building companies.
Yeah.
For that type of money, you must have, like, you must be psychopathic, really, because I know, you know, I know people who are going to iron you out for that amount. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
It's like, why would you risk just to, you know, like keep doing it over and over again? Surely you're going to know at some point you're going to get
it becomes a numbers game to them. They know the average builder's a straight working man who don't want to break the law, don't want to go to prison, don't want to do nothing. So if they do it to 10 different people and one of them knows someone who can have a word with them and get it back, if they say, I've knocked £1 million and I have to pay back 100 grand, I've had a result. And that's what they do it by numbers.
Yeah.
They just do it by numbers all the time. Because like I said, most straight working people, by the time it's happened, they're destroyed. I've known people within 6 weeks have lost 700 grand. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
It's terrible.
Yeah. But it seems like at the moment it's legalised robbery. Is all you got to say is it's a limited company, go to liquidate, you get something like 2p out of every pound they owe you. That's if they're going to pay it ever.
What's your success rate like?
Oh, it was a good success rate because he's a well-known gentleman and knows everyone who knows everyone. Because normally, and a lot of the people that do it, they'll know someone who's a face and think, well, if anyone comes on me, I'll get them.
Yeah.
But it's the old saying, you can't be wrong and strong, can you? That's right. And it's all you do is you pay their pal for helping us out, who's had a word with them, and then it's nice and easy. But until that day, they think they're untouchable because they're with someone.
Yeah.
But like I said, and again, it's the same with their wives. If their wives find out, well, do you owe it? Well, yeah, of course I owe it. So why you got people coming to my fucking door? Why aren't you paying it? You know?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people get rich doing it, aren't there?
So would you go across the, would it be all over the country you go?
Yeah, everywhere.
Was it? Yeah, so up to, how far would you go up Scotland or just England?
I went to Aberdeen and back in one hit before without stopping there. Fucking Manchester, anywhere. Yeah, it didn't matter.
Would you get a percentage?
Yeah, normally it was like I said, it was either a third or half, depending on how difficult the job is, isn't it?
How long it's been outstanding, the debt.
Yeah, like I said, we never ever, one thing we would never do, drug debts, never got involved in them. They're dirty, they're not worth it. There's too many scumbags in it. And like I said, a lot of the time, you don't know if the money's owed, if it ain't owed, do you?
No. I mean, once you get into, it gets murky because the whole nature of it is, say someone robs someone of a big weight, half the time it's because the other firm have robbed them sometime in the past.
Yeah, that's right.
They've all got firearms, they've all got,
you
know what I mean? And it's very, very difficult too. It's not like the old days where Lenny could turn up and on a meet and you could get some, you know, guy who can't punch his way out of a paper bag or just pull a shoe.
Right. A 15-year-old. A lot of them, when they're doing it, when they rob it, doing packs of about 15. So if they take a kilo, that's gone split between them in 2 seconds. And so you can't get nothing back off of any of them anyway. It's pointless. You know?
Have you ever had any situations with the door, all the debt collecting, where you've had run-ins with the old bill? Ever any prison sentences, anything like that?
I've only been nicked once, but they had to drop charges big fella kicked off, and I mean, fuck, I couldn't even get my arms around him. And his bird had just chinned someone. She was smashing at everyone left, right, and centre. And it ended up anyway. He said someone had tried to pull his eyes out. He had a broken nose, broken collarbone, and he got me nicked. But there was no CCTV. It never happened, Harry said. So I was, it was dropped, yeah. But obviously the old bill always come and look at CCTV. As long as you got arsehole, there's going to be violence. And it don't matter if it's down a town centre, off licence, chip shop, road rage. There's always going to be arseholes. And like I said, to have a basic knowledge, even the experience of what it's like, the adrenaline. A lot of people have never even had the experience of the adrenaline dump and that, of when you fight. They think that's fear. But they don't realise that is what it is every time. You know? And you just learn to deal with it. And that's what keeps me going. I could be falling asleep. The minute that adrenaline kicks in, I'm ready to go.
I think that's the thing as well. Another thing that people haven't really know is that you can go, depending on the place, like in that type of super club, you got trouble all the time, but you got a big team.
Yeah.
But you can go on a pub door, and it can be quiet all night.
Yeah.
You've got nice people coming in and out, no issues. And it gets to say, I don't know, 11 o'clock or whatever, and then you get a bunch who come round the corner, and you just know straight away, just by the way they're walking, their attitude, the way they're dealing with you, like I mean, that you have to go from being half asleep to clicking the fingers.
That's right.
Stone cold sober.
You've got to be able to switch on, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, in a violent situation. And it sort of comes from experience as well, doesn't it? But
like a lot of youngsters, they think you can be adrenalised all night, but they don't realise you'll just be tired. If you do that, ready, hyped all the time, you're just going to nuts. You've got to know when to rest and think, if it comes, it comes, but I'm not going to sit here worrying about it.
Yeah. And I think those morning visits back in the day as well, where if you had I know some of the old school doormen when we was growing up, because we caused trouble. We'd be fighting with doormen all the time when we was growing up. But you would, if you pushed it, you were going to get a team of doormen coming through your door at 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
When you're hungover, and all that bravado and fight is gone from you then. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it drops out, doesn't it? Yeah. Or if you even see them sober later on, then like I said, it's a different world, isn't it? When they're with their mates pumped up and they all want to kick your head in, and then you see them because you think, I was sober when that was going on. This is me 24/7. You was pissed, coked up, you wanted to kill me. Now it's like, oh, mate, I was only drunk. I was only... Yeah, it's all good, but you still would have stamped on your head if I gave you the chance.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now with yourself?
At the moment, like I said, I'm just doing bits here and there. Not too sure what to do with the future. Like I said, the door's over with. I've come away mostly from debts. I'm meant to be starting a new company in demolition shortly. But other than that, just bits and pieces as it comes along.
Maybe a YouTube channel?
I don't know about that.
You'd be good, mate. It's been brilliant chatting about everything. I really, honestly, mate, so pleased, because I knew when we was chatting before that you'd be brilliant, and you got some great stories and that. And it's nice to have people on who, normal guys who, they've worked the door for years, done bits of the debt collecting, whatever. Not trying to say they're big gangsters or this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? Just decent.
No, listen, no one's unbeatable. And like I said, the bigger and badder you get, some youngster just shoot your fucking head. So you're just deluding yourself if you think you are, aren't you?
And with crime and that now, where there ain't you ain't gonna, the old school armed robbers, the obviously you've got the big drug smuggling and high level stuff going on still, but even that is fraught with problems. You know what I mean? Because the old bill are constantly getting more and more. You only have to look at the Irish mob who got he was trying to go straight, get into action. As soon as you've been in that life and you put your head above the parapet,
they'll never let you rest.
people don't like it. They ain't going to
No.
have that. You know what I mean? So
No.
you're hunted now. And if you think about that turnout, I'm not saying that I'm not making a moral thing of whether he's guilty of what they're saying or not. But he's only got like a minor conviction, not even been charged or anything. But they're being hunted over by the American DEA, FBI.
Who's this?
Daniel Kinahan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're a target forever. Like I
Yeah.
said, look at COURTNEY. He tried to be entertaining and whatnot for years.
Yeah.
But the old bill would not stop with him, would they? You know?
Yeah. I mean, he run a big. I mean, a lot of people say he was a fake gangster and stuff. Like he says himself, he was never really a proper gangster or anything.
No,
But
no.
he did run a big security mob.
He did. That's
He
right.
did have a lot of people he could call to in his prime, in his heyday. You know what I mean, and but as soon as he took that Cray job on, that was it. His card was marked.
Yeah. They destroyed him after that. But like I said, they should be more worried about what's going on in the streets with youngsters stabbing each other up left, right, and centre, and getting after people who are telling the kids, "Don't go into crime. Don't do this. Don't do that." It don't make no sense. Everything's backwards, isn't it?
Everything is, and I think it's sad times. I'm not sure where we're heading, but I won't go too deep into that because it's just.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's just a minefield. But I mean, I think people like that era where you had Lenny the old school hard men like the Lenny McLean, Roy Shaws, Cliff Fields, all those type of enforcers, Jimmy Tippett Sr. I just did the documentary on a really interesting guy.
Yeah, I watched it. He's good, isn't he? Yeah.
Those type of characters, you're just not going to get them anymore. You get obviously you get tough guys and everything else, but it's just a different whole eras are different. Everything.
Because they'd been brought up post-war, they had different set of morals, different set of values. They believed in being proper men. That you didn't just because you're earning a few quid. He's grasped on someone. You go, I don't care. He's all right with me. It was you either had a reputation or you didn't.